During the war against the Scourge in the Eastern Kingdoms, Crusader Alexandros Mograine wielded a mighty weapon called the Ashbringer. With each swing, the paladin cleaved through waves of undead, but in an act of betrayal, Alexandros was struck down and his holy weapon forever corrupted. Such a loss of a powerful weapon against the invading undead dealt a massive blow on the Crusade's morale. If they were ever going to purge their lands of the Scourge, they'd need a new weapon. One that would rival the holy power of the Ashbringer. The priests of the Scarlet Crusade banded together to empower the most powerful weapon Azeroth had ever seen. But little did they know, its strength would soon be the death of them.
A duck walked into an apothecary and he said, "Give me some chapstick and put it on my bill."
We'll ambush them from behind.
The Scarlet Crusaders had found what they were looking for, a crystal empowered by pure darkness. Such an artifact would be paramount if they were ever going to create a weapon that matched the power of the Ashbringer. You see, the Ashbringer's holy powers were imbued by a similar dark crystal that was filled with the powers of the light. The violent clash of these two types of magics altered the crystal into one of pure light. With the crystal, they forged the Ashbringer. Now, the Scarlet Crusade would do the same with a similar dark crystal they obtained in the Plague Lands. For weeks, a council of 10 priests practiced the ritual to infuse the purified artifact into a weapon. With their holy powers combined, they'd develop a sanctified staff that would be integral in purging their homeland of the vile scourge. But during the moments of the staff's creation, deception intervened. Saidan Dathrohan was the leader of the Scarlet Crusade, but in reality, it was actually the Dreadlord Balnazar in disguise. He watched as the weapon was forged. It was unacceptable. If his underlings wielded such a force, it could lead to his identity being unmasked. In an act of pure malevolence, the Dreadlord interrupted the ritual with his dark magic. The violent explosion of holy and dark magic instantly killed the 10 priests, but when the smoke cleared, the artifact, named Light's Wrath, trembled with unstable energies. Balnazar pondered for a moment. The Dreadlord decided that he would not destroy the weapon now. Its unstable power made it less of a threat to him, and he kinda just simply wanted to see the havoc it would cause among his fanatical underlings instead. Oh, and havoc it did cause. You see, foolish members of the Scarlet Crusade would attempt to wield Light's Wrath. They'd raise the staff up into the sky, but the artifact's overwhelming power was nearly impossible to harness, and the wielder, their allies, and all surrounding undead would be ignited in an unstable blaze of holy light. The dangerous, unstable power of the weapon was something every wielder was knowledgeable of, but the enticing power of such a weapon led all of the Crusaders into a violent, agonizing death. In one recollection, Grand Inquisitor Isilin stated that at Tyr's hand the Scourge outnumbered their forces 20-1. But with Light's Wrath, all of the undead, its wielder, and many of the Scarlet Crusade soldiers were killed in a holy blast. The few soldiers that somehow survived the torrent of magic were left absolutely shell-shocked. In the days that followed, these soldiers could not even dress or feed themselves without assistance after what they just saw. So let's be honest here. Did the Scarlet Crusade members kill themselves in this battle? I mean, yes, but when they ultimately kill all of their enemies in a 20-1 battle, I think those losses are acceptable. Such a powerful weapon caught the attention of the Kirintor mages from Dalaran, specifically the mage named Isserin, who made it his duty to secure the staff. He tried to track down the weapon to make sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands, but each time Light's Wrath killed its wielder, it didn't take long for another crazed zealot to yoink the staff and try and wield it for themselves. All across the Plague Lands, there were blown-out craters of holy destruction from every attempt at wielding Light's Wrath. And it wasn't just used against undead either.
No one expects the Scarlet Inquisition!
Crusaders attempted to use the staff to, purify innocent townspeople who the Scarlet Crusade thought were unclean. And of course, everyone died in the process. Probably the most infamous wielder of the artifact was a sadistic man named Inquisitor Halbin. Within the dark recesses of the Scarlet Monastery's dungeons, Halbin used the staff to torture Forsaken prisoners. The Inquisitor inflicted whatever pain was necessary to extract information from his prisoners. But the more he tormented the Forsaken, the more he learned to loathe every fiber in their rotten being. No longer was Halbin torturing the Forsaken for information. Now, he was doing it just out of sick, sadistic pleasure. One night during an intense torture session, his hatred for the undead dominated his mind, breaking his focus on wielding Light's Wrath. This split second of broken concentration was all it took for the torturer's weapon to betray him. Burning holy light engulfed the torture chamber. Inquisitor Halbin died a slow, painful death, and his tortured screams echoed throughout his chambers in the same roaring cacophony as his victims. Okay, so this is where our story falls apart. Somehow, someway, that is not explained, Light's Wrath fell into the possession of a troll priest named Jakar. She used the weapon in an expedition to Northrend to destroy the Scourge, but after some time, she lost control of the weapon and it permanently blinded her, but it didn't kill her, and she abandoned the artifact in Northrend. And then somehow, someway, the weapon found its way back to the Eastern Kingdoms, and it cycled through the hands of multiple well-meaning priests and paladins. Yeah, they all died. Then, a group of hooded horsemen from the Tower of Karazhan called the Dark Riders tried to claim the staff in Duskwood. But when they touched the staff, a pure wave of holy energy echoed from the weapon, and it sent them running away. And by the way, WoW copies a lot of concepts from other universes, but the Dark Riders are literally just the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings, aka the guys called the Black Riders. And where do you cross the line between referencing something and just blatantly copying something? Okay, anyways, back to some weird random story beats. And then somehow, someway, the staff fell into the hands of the Twilight Hammer cult, who tried to suck out all of the holy energy from the staff. But the Kirintor mage Isserin, who made it his life's mission to track down Light's Wrath, intervened. With the staff in his possession, the mage conjured a protective spell over the staff. Yeah, it killed him instantly. Despite this, Light's Wrath was transported to the Nexus Vault, located within the Nexus in Northrend. And this is where the player character Priest comes in. When they arrive, the Nexus is currently occupied by ethereals trying to hoard the power of the Nexus and the artifacts within the vaults. And this is the disappointing part of our story. The rest of the questline is pretty much a direct copy of the Arcane Mage questline for their artifact weapon. And the origin of Light's Wrath is only told to players through text, leaving the story totally unknown to most players. Which is a shame, because it's one of the most outrageous and enjoyable little stories within Warcraft. And honestly, it just gave me an excuse to talk about the Scarlet Crusade some more.